Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Tadamhayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Bhagavata Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamritamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadādhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. On behalf of Srila Prabhupada, we welcome all of you for our Saturday satsang, and we are very happy that today we have my father-in-law and mother-in-law with us, Dad and Shvetaganga Mataji. So let us welcome them by saying 3 times Hari Bol. Hari Hari. So today being a very auspicious day, Shri Viśvarūpa Mahotsava, the tithi that Shri Viśvarūpa, the elder brother of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, took sannyas, and also our beloved Srila Prabhupada took sannyas. We will talk about both these leelas. So I'm reading from Shri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Ādi Khanda. This is chapter 7. Jaya Jaya Mahamaheshwara Gaurachandra, Jaya Jaya Vishwambhara Priya Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Shri Gaurachandra, the Lord of all Lords. Mahamaheshwar, the Lord of all Lords. All glories to Shri Vishwambhar's beloved devotees. One of the names of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Viśvambhar. Jaya Jagannatha Shachi Putra Sarva Pran Kripa Drishte Kara Prabhu Sarva Jivetran. All glories to Shri Jagannath Mishra and Srimati Shachimata's son, who is the life and soul of everyone. Sarva Pran. O Lord, please deliver the living entities by your merciful glance. Kripa Drishte Kara Prabhu Sarva Jive Tran. Henamate Navadvipe Shri Gaura Sundara Balya Lila Chale Kare Prakasha Vistara. In this way, Shri Gaura Sundar manifested his childhood pastimes in Navadvip. So, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is around 7 or 8 years old right now. And his elder brother, Viśvarūpa, he is around 15, 16 years old. He is a teenager, Viśvarūpa. This is Shri Chaitanya Bhagavat of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. This is Ādi Khanda, chapter 7. Verse number 4. निरंतर चपलता करे सब आसने, माये शिखाइलो प्रबोध nahi mane. Shri Nimai regularly engaged in mischief making. Nirantara chapalata kare. And he would not stop even by his mother's order. Shikhaile arohaya dviguna chanchal, grihe jaha payataha bhagaye sakal. Whenever his parents tried to restrain him, he would create twice as much mischief. He would become more naughty. And then he would break something in the house and he would run away before someone caught him. Grihe jaha payataha bhangaya sakal. He would break. भये आय किछु ना बोलाये बाप माय, स्वच्छंदे परमानंदे खेलाय लीलाय. Thus, out of fear, his parents, Jagannath Mishra and Shachi Mata, no longer tried to restrain Nimai, who was then free to fully enjoy his pastimes. Ādi Khanda Katha Jena Amrita Shravan, Yahi Shishu Rupe Krida Kare Narayan. The topics of Ādi Khanda are like stream of nectar, for they relate the childhood pastimes of Lord Narayan, Gaura Narayan. Pita Mata Kaharena Kare Prabhu Bhai, Viśvarūpa Agraja Dekhile Namra Hai. Nimai was not afraid of anyone, including his parents, but he displayed great humility upon seeing his elder brother Viśvarūpa. Viśvarūpa Agraja Dekhile Namra Hai. He would become Namra when he saw his elder brother. Prabhura Agraja Viśvarūpa Bhagavan, Ajanma Virakta Sarva Gunera Nidhan. The qualities of Shri Viśvarūpa is described here. Prabhura Agraja, his elder brother, Agraj, Viśvarūpa Bhagavan, his supreme personality of Godhead. Ajanma Virakta, he was a lifelong detached from sense gratification, Sarva Gunera Nidhan, and he is the abode of all transcendental qualities, Viśvarūpa. Sarva Shastre Sabe Vakha Nena Vishnu Bhakti, Khandite Tahara Vyakhya Nahi Karo Shakti. Shri Viśvarūpa explained the purport of all scriptures. Sarva Shastra Sabe Vakhanena Vishnu Bhakti. Shri Viśvarūpa explained that the meaning of all scriptures is devotional service to Lord Vishnu. And no one was able to refute the experience of Viśvarūpa. Shravane Vadane Mane Sarvendriya Gane Krishna Bhakti Vine Ara Na Bole Na Shune. Such a beautiful description. With his ears, mouth, mind, and other senses, he would not speak or hear anything other than devotional service to Lord Krishna. Isn't this beautiful? Beautiful verse. Shravane Vadane Mane. Shravane means hearing, Vadane means speech, Mane means mind, and Sarvendriya Gane. Through all the senses, all the karmendriyas, all the jnanendriyas, Krishna Bhakti Vinay Ara Na Bole Na Shune. He did not accept anything other than Krishna Bhakti with all his senses. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam Bhakti Uchchati. Like Ambarish Maharaj. Shravane Vadane Mane Sarvendriya Gane Krishna Bhakti Vinay Ara Na Bole Na Shune. So what were we discussing yesterday? If we have four principles in life, we will attain Krishna in this lifetime. It is guaranteed by all our acharyas. We just have to hold four siddhantas, four conclusions in our life strongly. Always remember them every day. Four things. Four conclusions, siddhantas. Number one, that we belong to Krishna. Jivera Swarup hai, Krishnera Nityadas. Mama Amsha Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatan. We belong to Krishna is the first siddhanta that we should remember. Second siddhanta is, because we belong to Krishna, my destination is Krishna. Jivane Nidhane Nityam Radha Krishna Gatir Mama. My gati is Krishna. Vasudeva Paragati. Srimad Bhagavatam it is mentioned. So Krishna is the supreme destination. Mam upetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam. Krishna is the param gati. So second conclusion is, my destination in life is Krishna. Vasudeva Paragati. Radha Krishna Gatir Mama. Third is, because I belong to Krishna and because my destination is Krishna, with my body, mind and words, I will serve Krishna. Shravane Vadane Mane Sarvendriya Gane Krishna Bhakti Vinayara Na Bole Na Shune. Karmana Manasa Vacha. I want to serve Krishna. So this is the Siddhanta, that with my body, mind and words, I will serve Krishna always. Aham hare tava padaika mula dasanudaso bhavitasmi bhuya manah smareta supater gunamste grini tava karma karotu kaya. With my kaya, with my vak, and with my mind. Body, mind and words. Oh Hari, I want to serve your lotus feet. Dhritarashtra Maharaj's prayers, 6th canto. So first, what was the first Siddhanta? Jivera Swarup hai, Krishna Nityadas, Krishna Tatastha Shakti, Bhedavet Prakash. Second Siddhanta? Vasudeva para Veda, Vasudeva para Makha, Vasudeva para Yoga, Vasudeva para Kriya, Vasudeva param Jnanam, Vasudeva param Tapa, Vasudeva paro Dharmo, Vasudeva paragatihi. Krishna is my destination. Third Siddhanta? Body, mind and words, I want to serve Krishna. And the fourth Siddhanta is, whatever happens in life, I will not accept the shelter of anyone other than Krishna. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. I will only take shelter of Krishna. I will not accept any anya ashraya. Only Krishna. Only Krishna. No other shelter. This is Sharanagati. Goptritve Varan. To accept Krishna as one's maintainer and Abhashya Rakshive Krishna Vishwasa Palan. Krishna is my protector. I will not leave shelter of Krishna and take shelter of anybody. It may be a human being, it may be a demigod, it may be an object like money, life insurance policy, a doctor, nobody. My ultimate shelter is Krishna. Everybody can help me and protect me by Krishna's empowerment only. Rakhe Krishna, Mare Krishna, Rakhe ke. If we have these four Siddhantas in our life, and we every day remember them and try to live our life based on these four principles, in this very lifetime, we will attain Krishna. This is a guarantee of our Acharyas and Krishna. Sarva dharman parityajya, mamekam sharanam raja, aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshesham masuja. So these four things we have to remember. And Shri Viśvarūpa is demonstrating that. Anujera dekhi ati vilakshan arita, Viśvarūpa mane gane, hayavismita. Seeing his brother's uncommon activities, Viśvarūpa was struck with wonder and thought as follows. E balaka kabhu nahe prakrita chayoyal rupe acharane yena Shri Bala Gopal. Viśvarūpa thought that my brother, younger brother, Anujera dekhi ati vilakshan arita. That my younger brother is very uncommon, very beautiful, very amazing. I think he is Shri Bala Gopal. I think he is Gopal. Jata amanushi karma niravadhi kare, e bhuji khele na Krishna, e shishu sharire. I can understand from the uncommon activities of Nimai that he continuously performs that Lord Krishna enjoys pastime through the body of this child. E mata chinte Viśvarūpa mahashay, kahare na bhange tattva swakarma karaye. Considering in this way, Viśvarūpa kept to his own activities and did not disclose his secret to anyone. That Nimai, his younger brother, is Krishna. Niravadhi tha ke sarva Vaishnave rasange, Krishna ka tha Krishna bhakti, Krishna puja range. Drink this verse, this beautiful verse. These are the activities of Viśvarūpa. Niravadhi tha ke sarva Vaishnave rasange, meaning what? Constantly lived with devotees. Niravadhi thake means to stay. Giriya thake, vana thake, sada hari pore thake. So Niravadhi thake sarva Vaishnavera sange. Always lived in the association of devotees. What is that? Asat sanga tyag ei Vaishnava achara. Niravadhi thake sarva Vaishnavera sange, Krishna katha, Krishna bhakti, Krishna puja range. And he was always blissfully engaged in performing devotional service to Krishna and worship of Krishna and discussing topics of Krishna. Madchitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tuschanti charaman puja. Niravadhi thake sarva Vaishnavera sange, Krishna katha, Krishna bhakti, Krishna puja range. Jagat pramatta dhana putra vidya rase Vaishnava dekhile matra sabe upahase. But the people of the world were madly enjoying wealth, children and education. Whenever they saw the Vaishnavas, they would ridicule them. Why are you fasting? Why are you chanting? Why don't you enjoy? Arya Tarja Padhe Saba Vaishnava Dekhiya Yati Sati Tapasviyo Jaibe Maria. They would compose blasphemous rhymes and recite them when they saw Vaishnava, just to tease them. They challenged, what is the use of being a sannyasi, a chaste wife, or a tapasvi? They also must die, like Charvak Muni. Beg, borrow, steal, just enjoy. Take a loan, but enjoy before you die. Because when you die, everything is finished.
Then he walks on 4 legs.
Amarendra Prabhu is saying then Charvak Muni walks on 4 legs, gets an animal body. Charvak. Hare Krishna. Tare bali sukratiye dola ghoda chade dasha bisha jana jare aage pache rade. We consider, the atheists are saying, teasing the devotees by saying, we consider someone pious if he can ride on a palanquin or has a horse surrounded by 10-20 servants. That is a measure of success, material opulence. Eta ye gosai bhave karah krandana tabuta daridra dukha nahaya khandana. You all cry for the Lord with love and devotion, yet you remain poverty stricken. What is the use of your bhakti? You are still poor. You still have to die just like us. You also become sick just like us. Why are you doing all this bhakti? The atheists say like that.
Is there a question like this in the Bhagavatam also? Why those who worship Shiva, they become more opulent, and those who worship Vishnu?
Please tell me.
I don't remember. Do you remember?
Please tell me. No,
It's there
please
in the
tell me.
Bhagavatam. I forgot.
Mummy, why the devotees of Shiva are more opulent than the Vishnu Bhaktas?
Because Shiva grants material benedictions very easily.
Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavati adapamethasam. Yeah. You want to elaborate? You can elaborate.
Guru Maharaj explains
Ah.
that Parvati is Maya. So whomever you worship, they give you the quality that they have. So because Shiva is closely associated to Maya, by worshipping him, he gives you that quality. And your material opulence increases. And because Vishnu is beyond Maya, when you worship him, you become free from Maya.
Hari Baba. Jahan Krishna tahan nahi Maya Radhika. Very nice. So, Ghana Ghana Hari Hari Bali Chadada Kruddhaya Gosai Shunile Barada. You loudly and repeatedly chant the name of Hari. You are doing Hari Hari all the time. But Hari becomes angry when anyone loudly chants his name. This is the opinion of the atheist. Krishna is saying, Uccha Swarasta Mada Sarvadaiva Govinda Damodara Madhaviti. And the atheists are saying that no. Krishna will get angry if you chant loudly. As if they are the authority on what Krishna likes, what Krishna does not like. Kotha na shune keha Krishnera kirtan dagda dekhe sakala samsara anukshan. The sound of chanting of Krishna's name could not be heard anywhere. And thus the people of the world continually burned in the fire of material existence. Sakala samsara anukshan. Dukkha bada paya Viśvarūpa Bhagavan nashune abhishta Krishna Chandrera akhyam. The Supreme Lord Shri Viśvarūpa. Viśvarūpa is the incarnation of Ananta Shesh. And Nityananda Prabhu is Balram. Just like in Krishna Lila, Ananta Shesh appeared in the womb of Devaki, who apparently had miscarriage. But actually, Krishna had instructed Maya Devi to transfer Ananta Shesh from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini, who was already pregnant with Balram. And then Ananta Shesh merged with Balram in the womb of Rohini. And Balramji came. Because Balramji is the original expansion of Krishna. Similarly, Nityananda Prabhu is an eternal son of Padmavati. But in Shachimata's womb came Viśvarūpa, who is Ananta Shesh. And this Ananta Shesh, later on we'll read in Pandharpur, he merged with Nityananda Prabhu. Just like Ananta Shesh merged with Balaram in Krishna Lila, Ananta Shesh Viśvarūpa merged with Nityananda Prabhu, who is Balaram in Gaur Lila. Everybody understood?
He merged with Nityananda Prabhu at a very late stage.
Very late stage.
There to
Yes. Whereas in Krishna Lila, it happened in the womb. Yeah. So Rohini is the eternal mother of Balram. And similarly, Padmavati is the eternal mother of Nityananda Prabhu. Gita Bhagavata ye jane va padhaya Krishna bhakti vyakhya na aise jivhaya. See the sorry state of affairs. Even those who spoke on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam would never explain anything about devotion to Krishna. I know, people, they sometimes join this summer Gita study camps, small children, and they complete the full summer Bhagavad Gita study. And if you ask them, what did you learn? They will not say anything about Krishna or devotion to Krishna. Because they have been taught the wrong version of Bhagavad Gita, the wrong interpretation of Bhagavad Gita.
There was one professor who came to our university in Boston. He was not a devotee, but he had a PhD in Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita. And I went to hear him. And I was amazed to what great depth he could present. But then when I spoke to him, he was smoking.
Right.
And he said, this is all imagination. I did it because I wanted to do PhD. And Rupa Goswami is a great philosopher and imaginative poet. That's how he described him. So I was feeling in my heart that he licked the bottle of honey from outside without touching the honey.
Hare Krishna. Also, have you heard of Srila Prabhupada's disciple Purna Chandra Maharaj? Very great personality. So he had come to Radha Gopinath Mandir. He was very scholarly. He knew the whole Bhagavad Gita, 700 verses by heart. He was the one who actually developed the Bhakti Shastri course, Purna Chandra Maharaj. And just like Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, he left his body all alone in Russia. Very, very wonderful devotee, very young. You may remember Purna Chandra Maharaj. So he had come, His Holiness Purna Chandra Maharaj, to Radha Gopinath Mandir, and he was telling a very nice story. He was very scholarly. So he said once we were preaching in Boston area, and we came to know that in Harvard there is a professor, American professor. He has done PhD in Srila Jiva Goswami's Shat Sandarbhas. So we were very interested in meeting him. So we called him up and we made an appointment. And when we told him that we are students of Srimad Bhagavatam, he said, oh, Shat Sandarbhas are a very systematic study of the different themes of Bhagavatam. So why don't you come home? I would like to meet all of you. So Hridayananda Maharaj, Purna Chandra Maharaj, four or five Prabhupada disciples, they went to his home to meet him. They made an appointment and they went home. And as soon as they went home, he welcomed them in the house, had them sit, and then served them wine. So they were surprised. These are innocent devotees. They thought anybody who has spent years studying Bhagavatam and Jiva Goswami's Shat Sandarbha, he will know all these basic things. Four regulative principles is like, if even a new Bhakta knows in ISKCON. So they were surprised that he's serving meat. He served them meat and wine. So they said, we don't eat this. We don't intoxicate. We don't eat meat. Basic first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. Parishut Maharaj, Kali Yuga. You remember that pastime? So he was surprised. Oh, I am doing this just academically. Just like ultimately just philosophy. You don't have to follow it. It's theoretical. So Purna Chandra Maharaj told us that he had spent all his life studying Bhagavatam and Shat Sandarbhas. All his life he had spent, but he had not spent even 1 minute practicing it. Similar to what Amarendra Prabhu was saying. So here was the same. Gita Bhagavad ye jane va padhaye Krishna Bhakti Vyakhya Karo na aise jivhaya. Krishna Bhakti did not come on their tongue, even though they were speaking Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, just by reading scriptures, one cannot get Krishna. One need to be under the guidance of a Sadhu Guru, a Vaishnava Guru, who can teach us. Aham vedmi shuko veti vyaso veti na veti va bhaktya bhagavatam grayam na buddhya na chatikaya. Not by one's own brute power, brute force, cracking open the scriptures and analyzing and studying, that we can get bhakti. There is a lock on all the scriptures, our Acharyas explain. There is a lock. And that lock is, one needs to have Guru Padashraya. One needs a Vaishnava Sadhu Guru to teach the scriptures. We cannot academically study. So that is important. Kutarka ghusiya sab adhyapaka mare bhakti hai na nama jahi janaye samsare. The teachers wasted their lives in useless arguments. Tarko pratishtha shutayo vibhinna. People of the world had not even heard the name Bhakti. Advaita Acharya Ādi Gadādhara Dāsa Jivera kumati dekhi karaye krandan. Thus, devotees headed by Sri Advaita Acharya simply cried upon seeing the atheistic mentality of people. Para dukha, dukhi, Vaishnava. Dukhe Viśvarūpa Prabhu mane mane gane, na dekhe ba loka mukha chali jaye vane. Viśvarūpa thought in his mind, instead of seeing the face of all these materialistic, atheistic people, I would rather go to and live in the forest, where I don't have to see the face of these people. Srila Radha Govinda Goswami Maharaj, in his Ajamil Katha, he narrates the pastime of Ajamil, how he had gone to the forest for a good work. He had gone to get kusha grass, tulsi leaves, flowers and fruits for the worship of Shaligram Shila. Unfortunately, in the forest, he saw a Shudra and a Vaishya. And by seeing them, he fell down from his spiritual position. So Srila Radha Govinda Maharaj says that just by seeing the face of a materialistic person, we can fall down. And see what we are doing every day, going out, working, looking at the face of so many materialists. Just by looking at the face, to quote Maharaj exactly, ऐसे व्यक्ति का मुख भी नहीं देखना चाहिए, केवल उनका मुख मात्र देखने से पतन होता है. Because see, Rupa Goswami emphasizes the Rupa Deshamrit. What are the 6 processes that enhance our bhakti? Utsaha, Nischaya, Dhairya, Tat Karma, Pravartana, Sangha Tyago, Sato Vritte, Shadbir Bhakti, Prasiddhati. So Sangha Tyago aa gaya isme. Give up bad association. Now look at the 6 things that are harmful of bhakti. This is the only thing that is repeated in both. What are the things? Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangasya laulyam cha shadbir bhakti vinashyati. Janasanga came there. How important it is? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya said, Asat Sanga Tyag hi Vaishnavacha. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mat karma krin mat paramo mat bhakta sanga varjita. Sanga varjita. Give up bad association. Krishna is saying. Very important.
Mahaprabhu uses principle even against.
Yes, Mahaprabhu. He used this principle even for Maharaj Pratap Rudra. Yadyapi Pratap Rudra sarva gunavan tahare malina kaila ekarajana. Just because he's a Raja, he's associating with all these people, and he has the Upadhi, I am a Raja. Mahaprabhu said, Sarva Upadhi vinirmukta tat paratvena nirmala. I will not meet with him. Very high standard. So Viśvarūpa said, I will take sannyas. Usha kale Viśvarūpa kari ganga snan advaita sabhaya asi haya upasthan. The dincharya of Viśvarūpa is mentioned here. Every early morning, Viśvarūpa would take a bath in the Ganga and then immediately go to the house of Advaita Prabhu. Today I was listening to a class and Maharaj was explaining that Advaita Acharya was the guru of Viśvarūpa. I didn't know this. Shri Advaita Acharya was the guru of Viśvarūpa. Advaita Acharya ran a school in his house as a Brahman, leader of all the Brahmans, and Viśvarūpa had enrolled in the school of Advaita Acharya. I didn't know this.
Interesting. Ananta sat on the neck of Lord Shiva. Here he's sitting on the feet.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, yes.
Although he's stable.
Yeah. Or we can say Advaita Acharya is Mahavishnu here. So, Usha Kale, early in the morning, Viśvarūpa kare Ganga Snan, Advaita Sabhaya Asi Haya Upasthan. He would go and sit in the house of Advaita Acharya. Sarva Shastre Vakhyanena Krishna Bhakti Sar Shuniya Advaita Sukhe Karena Hunkar. Shri Viśvarūpa established devotional service to Krishna as the essence of all scriptures. On hearing his explanations, Advaita Prabhu roared with happiness. Puja chhadi Viśvarūpe dhari kari kole Anande Vaishnava Sab Hari Hari Bole. Look at this. Shri Advaita Acharya left his deity worship of Shaligram Shila to embrace Viśvarūpa. And all the Vaishnavas happily chanted Hari Hari. Puja chhadi Viśvarūpe dhari Hari Bole. Anande Vaishnava Sab Hari Hari Bole. Sorry. Puja chhadi Viśvarūpe dhari kari kole. Anande Vaishnava Sab Hari Hari Bole. Can you give me one more example where Advaita Acharya gave up his Shaligram Shila puja, got up to attend to a devotee, a visiting Vaishnava? Huh? Haridas Thakur was a very dear friend, and he would sit and chant while Advaita Acharya did his puja. But one Vaishnav visited, and Haridas Thakur, Advaita Ishwar Puri Pal, Shri Ishwar Puri. When Ishwar Puri came to Navadvip, that time Ishwar Puri came and sat, and Advaita Acharya was doing puja of Shaligram Shila, and he noticed, and he said, "Who are you? You look so effulgent." So he said, "No, I am a Mayavadi." So he came with ek danda. Ishwar Puri came with ek danda to just hide himself as a devotee. So then Advaita Acharya looked at Mukunda. Mukunda, expert, he started chanting verses of Bhagavatam. And Shri Ishwar Puri went into ecstasy, fell on the ground, started crying. And then Advaita Acharya went and embraced him. Mad Bhakta Puja Bhyadika. Worship of my devotee is more important than my worship. Krishnanande Bhakta Gana Kare Simhana Karo Chitte Aranahi Sphuraye Vishad. Then in the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness, all the devotees roared loudly like lions, and lamentation no longer remained in their hearts. Viśvarūpa chhadi keha nahi jaya ghare, Viśvarūpa na aise na apana mandire. The devotees had no desire to leave Viśvarūpa's association to go home, nor did Viśvarūpa have any desire to leave them and go to his home. Ananda buddhi vardhanam pratipadam purnamrita swadanam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. In Krishna Sankirtan, when you are with devotees, there is so much ananda. Kevala ananda kanda. No one wants to go. Randhana kariya shachi bole vishwambhare tomara agraje giya anaha satvare. Shachimata called Nimai and said, "Go Nimai, go to Advaita Acharya's house and tomara agraje giya anaha satvare. Go quickly call your agraj, your elder brother." Okay? And Randhana Kariya Shachi. After cooking, the food is ready, prasad is ready. Mayera Adeshe Prabhu Advaita Sabhai Aisena Agrajere Labhara Chalai. On the order of his mother, Nimai would go to the house of Advaita Acharya. Now Nimai is 5 years old. Viśvarūpa is 15, 16 years old. He would go to Advaita Acharya's house to call his elder brother home. Asiya Dekhena Prabhu Vaishnava Mandala Anyonye Karena Krishna Kathana Mangala. When the Lord arrived there, he saw all the Vaishnavas engaged in discussing topics of Krishna. Krishna Kathana Mangala. Apana Prastava Shuni Shri Gaura Sundara Sabhare Karena Shubha Drishti Manohara. Apana Prastava Shuni. Hearing his own glorification, because they are talking Krishna Kathana, and here is Gaur Krishna who comes. So hearing his own glorification, Shri Gaur Sundar glanced mercifully on them. Sabare Karena Shubha Drishti Manohar. Prati Ange Nirupama Lavanye Rasima Koti Chandra Nahe Ka Nakhera Upama.
Yeah, Sundar.
Look at Srila Vrindavan Thakur Mahashaya's poetry. Listen carefully. Prati Ange Nirupama, every limb of Nimai, as he walked into the assembly of Advaita Acharya, every limb was Nirupama. It was incomparably beautiful. Koi upma nahi hai. Incomparably beautiful. Prati Ange Nirupama Lavanye Rasima. The parakashta of all beauty. Lavanye Rasima. Charming beauty. Koti Chandra Nahe Eka Nakhera Upama. Tribhanga Deha Sundaram Nakhadyuti Sudhakaram Amulya Ratna Bhushanam Namami Nandanandanam. The nails of Krishna are compared to moons. They are the 20 moons. Just the nails of Krishna. Here, Koti Chandra Nahe Eka Nakhera Upama. Bahu Koti Chandra Jini Badana Ujwala Gala Deshe Bana Mala Kore Jhala Prati Ange Nirupama Lavanye Rasima Koti Chandra Nahe Eka Nakhera Upama. Digambara Sarva Anga Dhulaya Dhusar Hasiya Agraja Prati Karena Uttar. Standing covered just by 10 directions, little Nimai, 5-year-old boy, his body covered with dust. Vishwambar smiled and spoke to his elder brother. Nimai would speak to his elder brother. Bhojane aisa bhai dakaye janani agraja vasana dhari chalaye apani. Bhojana aisa bhai. Oh brother, please come. Dakaye janani. Our janani, our mother is calling. Come to eat prasad. Agraja vasana dhari. Nimai would hold the chadar of his elder brother Viśvarūpa. Chalaye apani. Come on, let's go. Let's go. You take him from the Krishna Katha. Dekhi se mohana rupa sarva bhaktagan sthagita haiya sabe kare nirikshan. Can you imagine the ecstasy that Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami might have felt when he read Chaitanya Bhagavat? He is going to give this world Chaitanya Charitamrita. How much he glorifies. Krishna Lila Bhagavate Kahe Vedavyas Chaitanya Lila Ravyasa Shri Vrindavana Das. Dekhi se Mohana Roop Sarva Bhaktagan. Seeing the Mohan Roop, the charming, beautiful form of Nimai, all the devotees, Sthagita Haya Sabe. They became stunned, overwhelmed by seeing this beauty of this Nimai. They're talking about Krishna, and here Sakshat Gaur Krishna has come. Sthagita Haya Sabe Kare Nirikshan. And they would keep staring at him, just beholding the beautiful form of Nimai. Samadhira Praya Hai Yache Bhakta Gane Krishnera Kathana Karuna Aise Vadane. Samadhira Praya. Practically, they would go into Samadhi, just looking at Nimai. The devotees practically entered Samadhi. They were even unable to speak about Krishna. Krishnera Kathana Karu Na Aise Vadane. Amarendra was doing Venu Geet Katha last year. Remember how the deer and everyone, they would just become stunned just by hearing the Venu of Venu Geet, just hearing the flute song. You want to say something, bro? Want to say something?
I already said for 60 days.
Prabhu dekhi bhakta moha swabhave ihai vina anubhave hoye dasera chitta laye. Devotees by nature are overwhelmed upon seeing their Lord. Indeed, even before the devotees realize his identity, the Lord stole away their hearts. Prem de mana hare iti hari. Steals the heart. But the materialistic people could not understand this. Now, there is Srila Vrindavan Thakur explains why everyone was so attracted to Krishna. But we will not do that because then we will not be able to discuss about Viśvarūpa. Parama Adbhuta Katha Kahila Gosai. That section we'll have to skip today because then we will not be able to do. So, no one could recognize. Einavad vipete dekhila sarvajane tathapi hakeha na janila bhakta vine. Although everyone saw Nimai in Navadvip, no one except the devotees could recognize him. No one could recognize him because Naham Prakash Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavit. Mudoham Nabhijanati Lokama Majamavya. So I skipped to verse number 61. Now we'll go to 62. Bhaktera se chitta prabhu hare sarvathaye viharaye navadvipe vaikunthera rai. Bhaktera se chitta prabhu hare sarvathaye. He's stealing everyone's heart. Chitta hari vamshidhari. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes. Viharaye navadvipe. He's doing Navadvip Vihari. Navadvip Vihar vaikunthera rai. Our Lord of Vaikuntha attracted the hearts of all the devotees as he enjoyed his pastimes in Navadvip. Bhaktera se chitta prabhu hare sarvathaye viharaye navadvipe vaikunthera rai. Mohiya sabara chitta prabhu vishwambhar agraje laila chaili lena nijaghar. After enchanting everyone's heart, Nimai would return to his home with his elder brother. Sabka man chhod ke. Mane mane chintaye advaita mahashaya prakrita manusya kabhu e balakanaye. Shri Advaita Acharya is thinking, this boy cannot be an ordinary boy. How can he steal my heart? My heart I have already given to Krishna. How this boy can just come and steal my heart? Who is he? He cannot be a Prakrit Balak. Mane mane chintaye advaita mahashaya प्राकृत मनुष्य कभू ए बालक नये सर्व वैष्णवेर प्रति बलिला अद्वैत कोन वस्तु ए बालक नाचानी निश्चित. Shri Advaita Acharya said to all the assembled Vaishnavas, I do not know what sort of boy he is. Every day he comes and just steals my heart. I become overwhelmed. I become stunned. I cannot even speak. Charming boy. Sarva Vaishnavera prati balila advaita kono vastu e balaka na jani nischita. Prashamsite lagile na sarva bhaktagan apurva shishura rupa lavanya kathan. All the devotees then began to praise the beauty and charm of the wonderful child Nimai. After Nimai left with Viśvarūpa. Nama matra Viśvarūpa chali lena ghare punaha ailena shigra advaita mandire. Nama matra Viśvarūpa chali lena ghare. Only for namesake Viśvarūpa would go to his house just to eat some prasad. Punaha ailena shigra advaita mandire. Again he would come to the house of Advaita Acharya immediately to continue the Harikatha. This is absorption. Na bhaya samsara sukha Viśvarūpa mane niravadhi thake Krishna ananda kirtane. The desire for material enjoyment never appeared in the mind of Viśvarūpa. He constantly remained in the ecstasy of chanting Krishna's names, not attached to material things. Grihe aileo griha vyavhara na kare niravadhi thake Vishnu grihera bhitare. Even when he came home, Viśvarūpa never engaged in household activities. Grihe aileo griha vyavhara na kare. Niravadhi thake where? Vishnu grihera bhitare. When he was at home, he was inside the temple, in the deity room, in the house, where they had Shaligram Shila, they had Adhokshaja Vishnu, Chaturbhuj Murti, that they worshipped, their family deities. He would remain in the temple only, doing puja, chanting, reading Bhagavatam, even when he was at home. Vivahera udyoga kareya pitamata shuni Viśvarūpa bada mane paye vyatha. When Viśvarūpa heard his mother and father, Shachi Mata and Sri Jagannath Mishra, discussing about arranging his marriage, Viśvarūpa felt great mental pain. Vivahera udyoga karaye pita mata shuni Viśvarūpa bada mane paye vyatha. He became very sad, very worried. Chhadi ba samsara Viśvarūpa mane bhave chali jaya vane matra e mane jage. Viśvarūpa thought to himself, now I will leave home and go to the forest. My parents are deciding to get me married. Better I run away. Ishwarera chitta vritti Ishwara se jane Viśvarūpa sannyasa karila kata dine. The heart of a law of the Lord is known only by the Lord. Thus, after few days, Viśvarūpa left to take sannyas. Knowing that his marriage was impending, he just left home and took sannyas. Jagate vidita nama Shri Shankararanya chalila anantapathe Vaishnavagraganya. Viśvarūpa then became a sannyasi and he became known throughout the world as Shri Shankararanya, sannyasi name. As Viśvarūpa, as Shri Shankararanya Maharaj traversed the path of devotional service to Lord Krishna, he became celebrated as topmost Vaishnava. Chalila Anantapathe. The path of Krishna consciousness is called Anantapath. Chalagala Anantapathe, Vaishnava Agraganya. He became the greatest Vaishnava. And of course, it's a very painful narration that Jagannath Mishra and Shachi Mata and Nimai and all the family members, all the friends, relatives, neighbors, they were all heartbroken to see Viśvarūpa just suddenly, without telling anybody, one day he was gone, never to be seen again. Yes, today is the day that Viśvarūpa left home and took sannyas. It's called Viśvarūpa Mahotsava. But the story doesn't end there, my dear friends. So Viśvarūpa has taken sannyas and he has gone away, never to be seen again in Navadvip. Now let's go to Chaitanya Charitamrita. Madhya Leela, chapter 9, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's travels to the holy places. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Madhya Leela. Madhya Leela, chapter 9. Text number 281. Again, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 9, text 281. Dad, you will love this verse. Dad, you will like this verse. कोल्हापुरे लक्ष्मी देखी देखे क्षीर भगवती, लांग गणेश देखी देखे चोर पार्वती. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then visited the town of Kolhapur. महाप्रभू कोल्हापूरला आले. हा हो, कोल्हापूरला आले. ऍक्च्युली साताऱ्याला पण आले. साताऱ्याला पण आले. तिकडे कृष्णा नदी आहे ना, कराड, तिकडे आले. इकडे आहे वर्णन. श्री चैतन्य Mahaprabhu then visited town of Kolhapur, where he saw the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, Mahalakshmi, in the temple of Kshira Bhagavati, and also saw Langa Ganesh in another temple known as Chora Parvati. Text 282. Tatha haite Pandharpure Aila Gaurachandra.
This was the same tour?
South India tour, ho. तथा हैते पंढरपुरे आईला गौरचंद्र, विठ्ठल ठाकुर देखी पाईला आनंद. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Pandharpur. There he had darshan of Vitthal Thakur.
This was in what year?
1512 AD.
But Pandharpur people talk about this?
हो, तिकडे पीठ आहे स्वप्नामध्ये नंतर. सो हो, आहे तिकडे. तिकडे घाट पण आहे जिकडे भीमा नदीमध्ये.
घाट आहे, but this is not mentioned very prominently.
Some biographers have recorded it.
But people don't talk about it.
No, it is not now, because I have met a lot of ISKCON followers there in Pandharpur. They don't mention this.
हाँ, हे इकडे चैतन्य चरितामृत दिला. तथा हैते पंढरपुरे आईला गौरचंद्र, विठ्ठल ठाकुर देखी पाईला आनंद. From there, Sri Chaitanya went to Pandharpur, where he happily saw the temple of Vitthal Thakur. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The city of Pandharpur is situated on the river Bhima. It is said that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initiated Tukaram Maharaj, and thus Tukaram became his disciple in Pandharpur. Tukaram Acharya became very famous in Maharashtra, and he spread the Sankirtan movement all over the province. The Sankirtan party belonging to Tukaram Maharaj, Varkari, still very popular in Mumbai and throughout the province of Maharashtra. Tukaram Maharaj's book is known as Abhanga. His Sankirtan party exactly resembles the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sankirtan parties, for they chant the holy name of the Lord with Mridanga and Kartal. Lord Vitthal, they have mentioned in this verse, is the form of Lord Vishnu with two hands. He is Narayan. और द्वारकाधीश कृष्ण. प्रेमावेशे कैला बहुत कीर्तन नर्तन, ताहा एक विप्रतारे कैला निमंत्रण. So please listen carefully.
Maharaj doesn't mention these things in his lectures.
Hey, actually I have mentioned. I will send you.
No, Loknath Maharaj, I
Oh.
have heard his all 11 lectures in Pune.
अच्छा.
But he has not mentioned these things.
I have one lecture of Srila Loknath Swami Maharaj where he mentioned this. I will send you. Lecture. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted and danced in various ways as usual. A Brahman, seeing him in ecstatic love, was very pleased and invited Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his home for lunch. Premaveshe kaila bahuta kirtan nartan. Kirtan, singing, and nartan, dancing. Taha eka vipratare kaila nimantran. One Brahman invited him home. Bahuta adare prabhu ke bhiksha karaila. भिक्षा करी तथा एक शुभ वार्ता पाइला. The Brahman offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu food with great respect and love. After finishing his lunch, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received auspicious news. What is auspicious news? Madhava Purira Shishya Shri Ranga Purina Sei Grame Vipragrihe Karena Vishram. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Pandharpur. He did wonderful Sankirtan, dancing, singing. One Brahman invited him home. When Mahaprabhu went to his house of Prasadam, the Brahman gave a very auspicious news to Mahaprabhu. What was that news? That Madhava Purira Shishya Shri Ranga Purinam Sei Grame Vipragrihe Karena Vishram. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received word that Sri Rangapuri, one of the disciples of Sripad Madhavendra Puri, was present in the village of Pandharpur at the home of another Brahman. So at one time, Sri Rangapuri was living in Pandharpur. At the same time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was visiting Pandharpur. They are living in the homes of two different Brahmanas. शुनिया चलीला प्रभु तारे देखी बारे, विप्रगृहे वशी आछेन देखिला ताहारे. Hearing this happy news, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately went to see Sri Rangapuri at the Brahman's house. Upon entering, the Lord saw him sitting there. Premaveshe kare tare dandavat pranam, ashru pula kampa sarvanga pade ghan. As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Sri Rangapuri, he immediately offered him obeisances in ecstatic love, falling flat on the ground, dandavat pranam. And the symptoms of transcendental transformation, Sattvic Vikar, were visible, namely tears, jubilation, trembling, and perspiration. Ashru, Pulaka, Kampa, Sarvange, and Gham, perspiration. Dekhiya Vismita Haila Shri Rangapuri Raman, Uthaha Shri Pada Bali, Balila Vachan. Upon seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in such an ecstatic mood, Shri Rangapuri said, Your Holiness, please get up. Your Holiness, please get up. Both are sannyasis. Please get up. Shripada dhara mora gosaira sambandha tahavina anyatra nahi ei premara gandha. Your Holiness is certainly related to Shri Madhavendra Puri, without whom there is no fragrance of ecstatic love. Eta bali prabhu ke uthaya kaila alingan gala gali kari duhe kare na krandan. After saying this, Shri Rangapuri lifted Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu up and embraced him. As they embraced shoulder to shoulder, they both began to cry in ecstasy. This is the greatest happiness in life, to be in the association of devotees. And what does Ramananda Rai say? The greatest sorrow in this world? Separation from devotees. Kshane ke avesha chhadi duhar dhare ye haila Ishwara purira sambandha gosai janaila. After some moments, they came to their senses and became sthir. They became patient. Dhairya. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then informed Shri Rangapuri about his relationship with Ishwar Puri. So Shri Rangapuri is a disciple of Sripad Madhavendra Puri. He is the same level as Ishwar Puri. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a disciple of Ishwar Puri. So Mahaprabhu explained to Shri Rangapuri that I am a disciple of your god brother, Shri Ishwar Puri. Adbhuta premera vanya duhara uthalila duhe manya kari duhe anande vasila. They were both inundated by the wonderful ecstasy of love that aroused in them. Finally, they sat down and respectfully began to converse with each other. Now listen, very sweet. Very, very sweet. Dui jane Krishna katha kahe ratri dine, ei mate gonaila pacha sata dine. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Rangapuri discussed topics about Krishna katha. Dui jane Krishna katha kahe ratri dine. Day and night discuss Krishna Katha continuously for 5 to 7 days. 5 to 7 days, just talking about Krishna, not knowing how time was passing. Hare Krishna. Kautuke puri tare puchila janmasthan, Gosai kautuke kahe navadvipa naam. Out of curiosity, Shri Rangapuri asked Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is your birthplace? Which village are you from? Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu informed him that it was Navadvip Dham. Navadvip Dham. Now see. Shri Madhava Puri Ra Sange Shri Rangapuri Purve Asi Yachi Late Ho Nadiya Nagari. Shri Rangapuri, when he heard from Mahaprabhu, I am from Navadvip. Shri Rangapuri said, oh, I was the personal servant of Sripad Madhavendra Puri, and which Sripad Madhavendra Puri once I had gone to Navadvip. I had gone to your village, Navadvip. Let me tell you that story. Let me tell you that story. I had gone with Gurudev once to Navadvip. Jagannatha Mishra Ghare Bhiksha Ye Karila Apurva Mochara Ghanta Taha Ye Khaila. As soon as Shri Rangapuri recalled Navadvip, he also recalled accompanying Sripad Madhavendra Puri to the house of a Brahman, whose name was Jagannath Mishra, where Shri Rangapuri had taken lunch. He even remembered the taste of the unprecedented curry made of banana flowers by Shachi Mata. Shachi Mata was such a cook. Such a cook. Shri Rangapuri, so many years have passed, he remembered that yes, with Gurudev, with Sripad Madhavendra Puri, I had once gone to Navadvip, and there as a sannyasi, we stayed in the house of Jagannath Mishra. Very nice Brahman. And his wife had made one particular vegetable from banana flowers. It was unforgettable. Apurva. Apurva. It was unprecedented vegetable. Jagannathera Brahmaniteha Mahapativrata Vatsalya Hayena Teha Jena Jagannata. Sri Rangapuri is saying that Sri Rangapuri also remembered the wife of Jagannath Mishra, Shachi Mata. She was very devoted and chaste, Mahapativrata. As for her affection, Vatsalya, as far as her affection is concerned, she was exactly like the mother of the universe. Yashoda Mata, Jagan Mata. Randhane Nipunatan, Sama nahi Tribhuvane, Putra Sama Sneha Kare, Sannyasi Bhojane. This Shachi Mata, Sri Rangapuri is telling Mahaprabhu, this Shachi Mata, the wife of Jagannath Mishra Brahman in Navadvip, she's like Jagan Mata. And she would love all the sannyasis like her own children. Putra Sama Sneha Kare na Sannyasi Bhojane. With motherly love, she would feed all the sannyasis who visited her. This lady called Shachi Mata. Hare Krishna. Randhane Nipuna. And she was very expert in cooking. Shachi Mata. Randhane Nipuna Tasama Nahi Tribhuvane. Sri Rangapuri, who has traveled all over the world, he's saying in 3 worlds, there is no one as good a cook as Shachi Mata. Putra Sama Sneha Kare, Sannyasi Bhojane. And she was very affectionate toward the sannyasis and fed them exactly like her own children. Tara Eka Yogya Putra Kariyache Sannyas. Shankararanya Nama Tara Alpa Vayasa. Sri Rangapuri also commented and remembered that Shachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra, they had one very nice son. His name was Viśvarūpa, but you know what? At a very young age, Alpavaya, at a very young age, he took sannyas and his name became Shankararanya. You see the poignancy of the story? Very poignant. When Mahaprabhu left Jagannath Puri to do Dakshin Bharat Brahman, South Indian tour, what reason did he give? Because his associates were not wanting him to go. What excuse? I want to search for my brother, Shankararanya Maharaj. I want to search for my brother. And now that search is coming to a closure. Hare Krishna. And in such a way, Sri Rangapuri doesn't know that this sannyasi, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has any relationship with Jagannath Mishra, Shachi Mata and Viśvarūpa. So he's saying that they had a son at a very young age. Tara Eka Yogya Putra. Putra means one who saves us from hell. And Yogya Putra means Suputra. Very nice. They had a very nice son. At a Alpavaya, at a young age, he took sannyas and his name became Shankararanya. Now listen. Ei tirthe Shankararanyera siddhi prapti haila prastave Shri Rangapuri ete kakahi. Shri Rangapuri informed Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that the sannyasi named Shri Shankararanya Maharaj had attained perfection in that holy place, Pandharpur. When Shankararanya Maharaj came to Pandharpur and left his body in Pandharpur, he was no more. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's elder brother was Sri Viśvarūpa. He left home before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and accepted sannyas order under the name Sri Shankararanya Swami. He traveled all over the country and finally went to Pandharpur, where he passed away after attaining perfection. In other words, he entered the spiritual world after giving up his mortal body at Pandharpur. Sri Rangapuri, a disciple of Sri Madhavendra Puri and godbrother of Sri Ishwar Puri, disclosed this important news to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. Prabhu kahe purvashrame teha mora bhrata Jagannatha Mishra purvashrame mora pita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu informed Sri Rangapuri that, my dear Sri Rangapuri Maharaj, in my previous ashram, Purva ashram, sannyasi hai na? Purva ashram. In my previous ashram, Shankararanya was my brother and Jagannath Mishra, who you are talking about, is my father. Prabhu kahe Purva ashrame teha mora bhrata Jagannatha Mishra Purva ashrame mora pita. এই মাতা দুই জনে ইষ্ট গোষ্ঠী করি দ্বারকা দেখিতে চলি লারা শ্রীরঙ্গপুরী. After finishing his talks with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Rangapuri started for Dwarka Dham. Sri Rangapuri was traveling. So from Pandharpur now he goes to Dwarka Dham. But in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to know that his brother Viśvarūpa is no more. And our acharyas say that at that time Nityananda Prabhu also was traveling. When Sri Shankararanya Swami came to Pandharpur, Sri Nityananda Prabhu also was traveling as a sannyasi. And he came to Pandharpur, both of them met and they embraced, and Shankararanya entered the body of Sri Nityananda Prabhu.
Is there any memorial in Gandarpur ISKCON temple?
Yes, there is a lotus footprint of Viśvarūpa and Viśwambara both.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful.
ISKCON temple. Lotus footprint. Back side.
Sure, बघितले का?
मंदिराच्या पाठीमध्ये Prabhupada Ghat. On the banks of Prabhupada Ghat and Chandraghat. They have made a very wonderful memory.
हे केले ते.
Oh, खूपच सुंदर.
I have heard in one lecture
Ah.
that the Nityananda Prabhu came to Pandharpur. It was Lakshmipati Krishna who had a dream that a young sannyasi would be coming and he should initiate him. So this is, I heard it definitely in a lecture.
Yeah.
Nityananda Prabhu came and it was Lakshmipati Krishna who initiated.
Yes. Nityananda Prabhu was a. So there is little. Yeah, so in Chaitanya Bhagavat, in the purports, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives both the versions. He says that because in Chaitanya Bhagavat there is a verse where Vrindavan Das Thakur writes that Sripad Madhavendra Puri was the guru of Nityananda Prabhu. And there is a mention of them meeting also in the forest, both of them, Nityananda Prabhu and Madhavendra meeting. So there in purport, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada writes that Nityananda Prabhu is considered disciple of Sripad Madhavendra Puri, but there are some versions that say that the sannyasi who came to Eka Chakra when Nityananda Prabhu was 12 years old, some people say that that sannyasi was Lakshmipati Tirtha, but Srila Saraswati Thakur says that some versions say that he was the guru of Nityananda Prabhu, Srila Lakshmipati Tirtha, but Saraswati Thakur says maybe one was Diksha Guru and one was Shiksha Guru. So Lakshmipati Tirtha and Madhavendra Puri, one of them was a Diksha Guru, one was a Shiksha Guru of Nityananda Prabhu, like that.
The person who was in Pandharpur, Lakshmipati Krishna was in Pandharpur when he had this dream that in the morning
Nityananda
will
Prabhu
come and you initiate him. And
Okay.
then, it was Lakshmipati Krishna. And then he initiated Nityananda Prabhu and very soon he left his body. But there is two
Okay.
Is it?
I have not heard. I don't know. Maybe.
Because one is initiated, maybe I'm wrong, but there is two, right?
I also not know about it, but I'm chuckling and excited. I'm excited.
Two gave Diksha on terms of
Okay, I will read this purport, referring to purport. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 9, section that we were reading, verse number 289. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 9.289. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada remarks that up to the advent of His Holiness Sripad Lakshmipati Tirtha, it was a system in the disciplic succession of Madhavendra, of Sripad Madhvacharya, to worship Lord Krishna alone. After Sripad Madhavendra Puri, worship of both Radha and Krishna was established. For this reason, Sri Madhavendra Puri is accepted as the root of worship in ecstatic love. Unless one is connected to the disciplic succession of Sri Madhavendra Puri, there is no possibility of awakening symptoms of ecstatic love. So, not this purport, but it is in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Mummy, where I will show you that purport, where Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that both were considered to be gurus of Nityananda Prabhu, Lakshmipati Tirtha and Madhavendra Puri.
What I had heard in that lecture.
Maybe I have not heard that version in Pandharpur. Acha.
In Pandharpur, and then very soon after that, Lakshmipati Krishna left his body.
Lakshmipati Tirtha initiated Nityananda Prabhu. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I have not heard that version.
Actually, ISKCON Pandharpur has a deity of Lakshmipati Tirtha. The
Acha.
same place where there is footprint of Viśvarūpa.
Oh.
Behind they have a deity of Lakshmipati Tirtha like this. With Nityananda Prabhu.
Oh, so then, yeah.
And they have a big board saying that Lakshmipati Tirtha had this spot spoken to the ear of Nityananda.
Nityananda Prabhu.
So I've heard this in Chopati class.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
But this is again in connection and subordinate to what Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur. I am not refuting.
No, Saraswati Thakur says both. He says that Madhavendra Puri also was Guru, and that is mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat. There is a verse that says that Nityananda Prabhu considered Madhavendra Puri as his Guru. So that is a verse in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So that is irrefutable that Madhavendra Puri is the Guru of Nityananda Prabhu. As far as Lakshmipati Tirtha is concerned, that version is also there, and Saraswati Thakur accepts that version also. He says maybe Shiksha Guru or Diksha, like that. Both were Gurus. Actually, in those days, it was Diksha means Mantra Diksha. Second initiation. Saraswati Thakur started this Harinam first and then Mantra Diksha because so much preaching was done. Now give me 5 minutes. I want to read the section because today Srila Prabhupada took sannyas from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit. I want to quickly read a few paragraphs. One night, Abhay had a striking dream. The same dream he had had several times before during his days as a Grihastha householder. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada appeared just as Abhay had known him, the tall, scholarly sannyasi coming directly from the spiritual world, from Krishna's personal entourage. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada called to Abhay and indicated that he should follow him. Repeatedly he called and motioned. He was asking Abhay to take sannyas. Come, he urged, come, become a sannyasi. Prabhupada had this dream. Abhay awoke in a state of wonder. He thought of this instruction as another feature of the original instruction that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada had given him at their first meeting in Kolkata. The same instruction that his spiritual master had later solidified in the last letter that he wrote. Become an English preacher and spread Krishna consciousness throughout the Western world. Sannyas was for that end. Otherwise, why would his spiritual master have asked him to accept sannyas? Abhay reasoned that his spiritual master was saying, now take sannyas and you will actually be able to accomplish this mission. Formerly, the time was not right. Hare Krishna. Abhay deliberated cautiously. By accepting sannyas, a Vaishnava dedicates his body, mind, and words totally to the service of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, renouncing all other engagements. He was doing that already. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada had offered sannyas to his leading disciples so that they could continue his mission. Preaching in the West had proved perilous, even for the Gaudiya Math's most recognized sannyasis. Preaching in the West was perilous, dangerous. How could he, a mere householder, presume he could succeed where others had failed? He was hesitant. The helpless, incapable feeling he had expressed in his Viraha Ashtaka was there. Now, his spiritual master was beckoning him, and over all other considerations, even over natural humility. Now, although he was elderly and alone, the desire to preach, just as his spiritual master had preached, remained within Abhay, a fierce, though sometimes quietly expressed determination. The Vedic standard and the example set by the previous acharyas was that if one wants to lead a preaching movement, sannyas was required. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada had taken sannyas to facilitate his preaching mission work. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas to further the Sankirtan movement. So all these considerations were there. So then let's see what happens. It's a long story, but I will just cut it short. Abhay could understand the needs and priorities of his god brothers. Abhay had offered his services to his god brothers. He thought that with the world's crying need for Krishna consciousness, he had to do something, whatever was required. Abhay turned to Sri Keshav Maharaj in Mathura, and Sri Keshav Maharaj told Abhay to take sannyas immediately. After corresponding with Sri Tirtha Maharaj, Abhay had felt some uncertainty about accepting sannyas. But now that he was being encouraged so strongly, Abhay resisted. But Srila Keshav Maharaj was insistent. Srila Prabhupada himself says this. I was sitting alone in Vrindavan writing. My god brother insisted to me, Bhaktivedanta Prabhu, you must do it. Without accepting sannyas, nobody can become a preacher. So he insisted. Not he insisted. Practically, my spiritual master insisted. He wanted me to become a preacher. So he forced me through this God brother. You accept sannyas. So unwillingly, I accepted. Shri Keshavji Gaudiya Math was located in the midst of one of Mathura's downtown bazaars. Its main entrance, an arched doorway led into the courtyard, open to the sky through a metal grating above. The architecture was similar to that of Vamshi Gopalji temple. The atmosphere was secluded as in a monastery. Abhay was familiar, welcome figure here. But Prabhupada was very much welcomed by Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. Clearly it is written. He was a welcome figure here. He lived here, written and studied in the library here, edited the Gaudiya Patrika, and donated the deity of Lord Chaitanya, who stood on the altar besides the deities of Radha and Krishna, Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ji. But during his visit during September 1959, it was not an ordinary one. He entered the mutt dressed in white, Abhay Babu, but he would soon be leaving dressed in saffron, Aswami. Abhay had been living as a renunciant for 9 years. There was no need for him to observe a ceremony to proclaim himself a sadhu by changing to saffron dress. But it was the parampara system that a man take Tridandi sannyas at the end of his life. Abhay was aware of the cheating sannyasis. Even in Vrindavan, he had seen so many sadhus who did not preach, but simply spent their days hunting for chapatis. Some swamis of Vrindavan even indulged in illicit activities. Such persons were making a mockery of sannyas. And there were caste Goswamis also, who lived like ordinary householders, running temples as a business to support their families. What does Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur say to this? Using a Shaligram Shila to crack the almonds. Yeah. Abhay knew of the abuses of sannyas, but he also knew the real purpose of sannyas. Sannyas was meant for preaching. On the morning of September 17th, 1959, in the 50 by 25-foot deity room on the second floor of the Shri Keshavji Gaudiya Math, a group of devotees sat before the deities, Radha Kunj Bihari Ji and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The deities were colorfully dressed in royal clothing and silver crowns. Srimati Radharani's right hand faced palm forward in a benediction for the worshipper. At her side, her left hand held a flower for Krishna. Krishna stood like a dancer, placing his right leg in a casual tiptoe pose before his left, playing his long silver flute, which he held gracefully to his red lips. Krishna's long black hair reached down past his shoulders, and the garland of marigolds around his neck reached down to his knees. On his right stood the deity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his right arm raised and his left arm at his side, his body straight, feet together. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a soft golden color, and he had large eyes, a well-formed red mouth, and straight black hair down to his shoulders. One level above the deities were pictures. One level below the deities were pictures of the spiritual masters in disciplic succession. Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Shri Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Shri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Shri Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Just last one page. Abhay sat on a kusha grass mat beside 90-year-old Sanatan Prabhu, who was also to receive sannyas that day. Sitting opposite the two candidates was Srila Narayan Maharaj, and Srila Keshav, who was Srila Keshav Maharaj's disciple. And Srila Narayan Maharaj prepared to conduct a ceremony of mantras and offerings of grains and ghee into the fire. Shri Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji, Abhay's godbrother and friend, known for sweet singing, played mridanga and sang Vaishnava bhajans. Haribol. Are you all in Keshavji Gaudiya Math right now? Yeah. Shri Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji, Abhay's godbrother and friend, known for his sweet singing, played mridanga and sang Vaishnava bhajans. Sitting on a raised asan, His Holiness Shri Keshavji Maharaj presided. Since there had been no notices or invitations, only the mutt's few residents attended the ceremony. Srila Narayan Maharaj chanted the required mantras and then sat back silently while Srila Keshav Maharaj lectured. Then, to everyone's surprise, Srila Keshav Maharaj asked Abhay to speak. Abhay had not expected this. As he looked around at the gathering of devotees, he understood that the common language was Hindi. Only Srila Keshav Maharaj and a few others spoke English. Yet, Abhay knew he must speak in English. After Abhay's speech, each initiate received his sannyas danda, the traditional head-high staff made of 4 bamboo rods bound together and completely enwrapped in saffron cloth. They were given their sannyas garments, 1 piece of saffron cloth for a dhoti, 1 piece for the top, and 2 strips for underwear. They also received tulsi neck beads and the sannyas mantra. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj said that Abhay would now be known as Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, and that Shri Sanatan Prabhu would be known as Shri Muni Maharaj. After the ceremony, the 2 new sannyasis posed for a photo, standing on either side of their sannyas guru, who sat in a chair. Everyone has seen that photo. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj didn't impose any strictures on Abhay. He simply encouraged Abhay to go on preaching. Yet Abhay knew that to become A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami did not mean merely that he was giving up family, home comforts and business. That he had done 5 years ago. Changing from white cloth to saffron cloth, changing from Abhay Babu to Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj had a special significance. It was the mandate he had required, the irrevocable commitment. Now it was only a matter of time before Bhaktivedanta Swami would travel to the west as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada had ordained. This was Bhaktivedanta Swami's realization of his new sannyas status. The Gaudiya Patrika's account of the sannyas initiation included a biographical sketch of Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, listing the major events of his life. The article concluded as follows, quote, seeing his enthusiasm and ability to write articles in Hindi, English and Bengali, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Maharaj gave him the instruction to take Tridandi sannyas. For nearly 1 year, he had been ready to accept sannyas. In the month of Bhadra, on the day on which Shri Viśvarūpa accepted sannyas, Bhadra Purnima, Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami at Shri Keshavji Gaudiya Math accepted sannyas from the founder of the Vedanta Samiti, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. Seeing him accept his ashram of renunciation, seeing this pastime of accepting the renounced order of life, we have attained great affection and enthusiasm. Unquote. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Jai devotees. Jai Srila Prabhupada. We'll have some more kirtan now before prasadam is served. Hare Krishna.